from the center of the galaxy, right here on a Monday. This is ForceCenter. I forgot to take off my neck brace today. We always run into these live streams, even though we plan them every week, Joseph. I'm Ken Knapsack. How are you?
I don't know if I've seen a real life neck brace, and I think it's great that you have one. I'm not making fun of it, but I am so conditioned by 80s sitcoms. When I see a neck brace like that, I associate it with a wacky situation where someone is faking a neck injury in court, which I know you're not doing, and I hope your neck is better.
It's kind of better. And this one warms up or freezes depending on your needs, friend. Not a sponsor. Highly recommend. Also, from me in the pro wrestling world, there was about a year of shows where I wore a neck brace as part of an angle. So you're right to not trust it, Joseph. You're right. It's a lie. No, it feels good. Oh, there we go. We're here for some Star Wars news, some quick reactions to Maul Shadow Lord. But we're going to talk some. Joseph and I are going to dance on some controversial Legends material. Before we get to all that, though, we do like to remind you today's podcast is brought to you by Shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store and pick up a t-shirt, a pint glass, a coaster, a tote bag. Get a tote bag to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. Check out us at ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. So there's that. And then also we're looking forward to the Mandalorian and Grogu hitting theaters, but also because it's a goal. It's behind the goal.
That is right. We are trying to build up in this season of new Star Wars storytelling. We got Maul, we got Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's always the best time for us to grow. I think anything having to do with money is a bad time right now. So we certainly understand that, but we're still going to do everything we can to grow Patreon. So our goal is, by the time of the release of Mando and Grogu in theaters on May 22nd, we'd love to get to 400 paid patrons on our Patreon. We did have a little bump up this week. We're at 384, so we just got a couple weeks to get up to 400. That would help us in the show out tremendously. So check that out. Also, I think probably everybody watching knows this, but on these news shows, we're going to be doing quick overview reaction to Maul Shadow Lord, but we're doing a full deep dive. We got back to our deep dive roots and did almost 2 hours discussing the first 2 episodes on our review discussion show called Maul and the Curse of Himself. So join us for that later this week.
Absolutely. Can't wait to dive in to that. And that's where we go to our Star Wars life adventures, where we kind of squeeze our Maul quick reactions, because we're live on Mondays. We're talking news. We know that it might be weird for you all to not get a little reaction from us, but no spoilers as best we can. Joseph, I stayed up late, and I had a much more successful stay up late session where I was raring to go. And man, I love what the show's doing. Especially love that second episode last night. Obviously, this is a serialized series, and they promise that, and so these episodes work in conjunction. And because they're airing at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's one big episode to me. Some of the endings, I know we've talked about it. The streaming era, there's a bigger conversation, but I just like what the show's pulling off. That's my overall reaction.
Yeah, no, I think the episodes are broken up in a way that I'm enjoying, because I feel like there's great clarity on what idea are they dealing with. They're almost more it's like a serial adventure cliffhanger, but for the most part the cliffhangers are emotional, and I'm okay with that. You know, that first episode being, you know, really about identity and who are you? I don't even know your name. Haha, I do know your name. Devin is, you know, that's the idea that carries it through. So I'm enjoying those. A couple of big picture reactions from me. There's a lot of influences that we've all discussed in our loving in Maul, including the noir, the gangster. But that final trailer was real horror, and I felt like these episodes kind of paid off on some of the horror, just in sort of aesthetic. There were some the shots of Maul appearing from nowhere and from the shadows, and lots of great screechy, scary sound effects going on with his presence as an absolute horror show. I thought was fantastic. So I really like the horror vibe.
Sorry. After 12 years, you think I'd know not to step? We know our rhythms. I'm just so excited. No, I agree with you. The horror vibes are strong there, and also, and I'm sure I'll remix this in some way in the deep dive tomorrow. But it's a quick reaction from me. Like, I gotta admit, like as much as we love just to dive in deep and talk themes and make these things poignant, and this has got some deep philosophy going on in these episodes. I had a couple moments of, oh, that's bleeping cool. Just watching Maul wreck shop and some of the things he did. And I think that's why we have the action figures on the playground. That's definitely part of why we buy a ticket as Star Wars fans and don't just read philosophy books and talk about it on ForceCenter. Like we could if we want to, but you know what I mean? Like I just had some real like, oh, that's some cool shit.
There was a lot of just, oh, that's cool. And I think it would have been cool even if it wasn't so emotionally well tied. But when you got, some of those swinging blades with that beautiful hand-drawn blur and those little moments where you really connect with the characters, that moment when Maul is taking it to the pikes and, and I'm allowing myself to root for, the one bad guy murdering another bad guy. We're all aware of the morality of that. Yeah. That sense of satisfaction from him when he, connects the two blades and is like, okay, now I'm in my element and I'm really going to cook some fools. It's just fantastic. And I'm still on the old Vader train. Vader showing up in it is absolutely primarily for the storytelling element of these two abused children who both in their own ways are still trying to prove themselves to their horrible, awful dad Sidious. And what can they learn from each other? How can they hurt one another differently because they know things about each other that maybe the rest of the galaxy doesn't know? Like that stuff is all very present. But I have to admit, watching these episodes, there's also just like, but I want to see Vader in this animation. I want to see with his blade swing with that great animated hand-drawn style and the rough edges and like, oh man.
I hadn't thought about that specifically. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, and we've talked before. We'll talk again. The Vader has a place in the story, whether it's this season. Now that we know there's at least one more, that shot. We're trying to avoid some spoilers, but the end of the fourth episode. Yeah, damn, it was good. It just that's something I want, and I'm excited. And every character continues to grow, and just the real human moments. The Brander Lawson and his son, just some broken heart stuff, and Maul having and Joseph, you and I we're gonna have a lot of work to do tomorrow because Maul's making good points. I know Maul's making good points everywhere, but just hold on,
He is making good points, and he is also being just so delightful about like. Well, I'm going to manipulate you, and welcome to my manipulation parlor. Would you like option A or option B about how I manipulate you? Is some fantastic stuff and some good twists on what's there. I think both of them. We'll talk more about it too, but I think both episodes together too, with just like all of these different factions who you can empathize with, who are wrestling with how to figure out working under this new order, and you want them somehow, some way to all align against the biggest problem of the Empire in that second episode where they're trying to make deals with each other to stop the horror of the Empire showing up. And it's just so powerful.
Yeah, great stuff. And every week we've been tracking our friend Matty Gunner of the band Mourner. He's a Darth Maul fan beyond maybe anyone in the world that I know. And he has said, it's everything I hope for. Which is also what I said last time I was at IHOP and I ordered the pancakes with blueberries on top. So, Maddie, I feel that. Another, part of the life adventures right now is just a surge of Star Wars energy in me, which I value even more as time goes on because, being in this punditry world for 12 years and sometimes being beaten down and sometimes letting bitterness reign over me and other people's success and just I just like when suddenly I'm like, ooh, I want to watch a Star Wars show or series or moment. Or I could tell when it's really deep, Joseph, because guess what I've been watching all weekend? Empire Dreams. Anytime I'm feeling that Star Wars love, I'm like, oh, let's go ahead and watch the story of Star Wars again.
I watched it like 2 weeks ago, and I almost pitched my wife to rewatch it with me. Empire Dreams documentary is so good and so illuminating and so weird and so beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little puffy in the most wonderful ways in terms of puppies. So that's my Star Wars adventures and life adventures. Really a busy time as I race towards a big birthday this weekend. I'm in the final week of my youth, Joseph, and it's a great feeling.
Well, let me tell you, from the other side of that lost youth, it's a lie. It's a lie.
Beautiful.
It's a
Beautiful.
beautiful lie. Find this is advice from everyone from 2 to 82. Find someone a little older than you to remind you. You, boy, I wish I was your age, so you
That's true.
effing remember. Right after I turned 50, I had a really nice talk with my mother-in-law, and she was like, "Do you know how much I wish I was 50? Enjoy it." I'm like,
That's true.
thank
That's
you.
true.
Thank you, Nancy.
There you go.
Yeah, personal adventures, Star Wars. I mean, the Star Wars adventure has mostly just been Maul and thinking about Maul. And rearranging action. I rearranged some action figures to make one of my Mauls more prominent. That's mostly been the Star Wars adventure. Yeah, though I had some ups and downs this week, and I got a lot of writing done. There's another short film I want to make, so I was able to write the script for that in like an hour because I'd already thought of the details. Got another feature I want to work on, and I finished writing the first act. So I had a rough week in some ways, but I got a lot of great creative work done. And part of the reason I bring it up is it just I know a lot of our listeners do creative things. A lot of our listeners, have other projects they like and enjoy in life, and I just think it's always great, especially if you're having a hard time, to reconnect with what you love doing the most and what reminds you that you have agency, as busy and stressed as we all feel. If you love gardening, make an hour for it and
Mm-hmm.
physically change something with your hands. Do you like to knit? Physically change something with your hands and just remind yourself of your agency. And I think it's a life adventure for me this week, but also I think it is a Star Wars thing, and, some thematic stuff in Maul about, are you going to take action or not? Is taking action a part of your identity or not? But agency.
Indeed. No, good stuff. Absolutely. Let's dive on into some Star Wars news, Joseph, as you take us through it. And no Mara Jade in canon yet. Yet is the headline. What do we got?
Yeah, so we're going to talk some Mandalorian Grogu news as well, but we wanted to lean into this Mara Jade stuff because I know that she's a character that means a lot to a lot of folks. Here's the deal. An outlet called Popverse reports that during a MegaCon panel, fans were curious about what sorts of stories were vetoed by Lucasfilm. So that was a question to the panelists. We haven't had a chance to hear this panel. So big old caveat, huge grain of sand, because we just went through this with John Boyega, where you got to be careful about quotes that you can't hear the context of at a fun panel convention. But that's the setup. So two prolific Star Wars authors, Claudia Gray, who we love around here, and Timothy Zahn, who we also appreciate around here, were both individually asked about the possibility. Both of them reported that they asked Lucasfilm about the possibility of using Mara Jade in future Star Wars story, and Lucasfilm said no to both Claudia Gray and Timothy Zahn. And Claudia Gray in particular said a couple of times, I was like, really? No Mara Jade? And they were like, nope. Zahn also added that he asked a few times to no avail. So, Ken, what do you think of this? Why do you think Mara Jade remains off limits?
There's some follow-ups to this that might be part of this answer now, but I think she's kind of a rock to drop in the pool, and there's a lot of ripples, and I think she's a big character. They obviously know, let's not forget there's a lot of Legends fans who work at Lucasfilm, including those in the higher ups. I don't think there's not a dividing line up there. You on that side, Legends people on that side, you on this side, I think they've all been pretty open about their love. Perhaps no one more than Dave Filoni, as I know his name will come up here, but that's what I think. That's what she's just one of the big ones. And because of the possibilities with her character, which are numerous, you drop her in there, you might have to do a lot of butterfly affecting, and I don't know if they want that.
I think that's a really great analysis of the difficulty of adapting her. I think maybe even bigger than Thrawn potentially. But But I think one of the reasons that they have been, in my opinion, smart to not have her be in publishing is because I think you got to have a little bit of a big picture plan for a character that has, so much impact, as you're saying, and what part of her story, in what way, and what is being implied, and all that. I kind of think this is my wild opinion. I think there are plans for her, not like the next film is going to be Mara Jade. I think that Dave Filoni, I mean this is a compliment, I think it's a challenge now. I think he has respect for Legends. I think he has respect for Legends fans. And I think he takes it as like a personal challenge to be like, I can make it all work. I can bring every character that is beloved in some way that will make people happy. And I think you took care with Thrawn, and I know not everybody loves the Thrawn tweaks, the Thrawn changes. But I think that Mara Jade is a chess piece on Filoni's wall of possibilities. Does he bring her in as part of his, New Republic versus Thrawn arc at some point? Her character is, really multifaceted. So what part of her story do you focus on? The Emperor's Hand part, the role in the New Jedi Order, a romantic interest of somebody. Not that that's all the character, it is, but that is one of the big things that people know about her. So I think there's a lot of possibility, and I think they're wise if they have any notion of like, we might want to do something with this character, to say, let's just make it on screen first rather than publishing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's not as you're being clear to say, but clear for us to here on the show. Like, it's not a swipe at publishing something we love, especially Claudia Gray. It's just, I think something that kind of emerged from the 2014, 2015 kind of early canon publishing side, where they took these wonderful big swings that they were allowed to do, and then you might later on feel pigeonholed in, and maybe they're just more aware of that, or you blow past it, and then a new section of the fan base is angry that you changed some things, or it's not exactly the same as a book, and then we get into this levels of canon debate again. And I think that's, to me, some of it might be part of it, and I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the chat is ahead of us, but we'll be getting into the George of it all in just a minute. Ken, neither of us is the most knowledgeable or huge Mara Jade fan, but what would you want to see in her return? And if we do have any big Mara Jade fans, because I know there are a lot of big Mara Jade fans, particularly since she was one of the first larger female roles in all of Star Wars storytelling, feel free to let us know in the chat. But for Ken, for your level, how would you want her to see her return?
I will start with an official statement and a caveat, because we've talked about this for so many years. Sometimes I just have fun. Sometimes I'm radio guy, and I like a little hot take. I like to stir the pot, and I don't like the character of Mara Jade. I don't like a lot of Legends, and I have no problem saying that with headphones on and a microphone in front of me like an asshole. But over the years, and I meant it, I don't like the character that much. But over the years, especially what we've done, especially how ForceCenter forced me to slow down and look around me, something I'm forever thankful of talking Star Wars with you and Jennifer for. You're right. In an era where not only was Zahn helping to keep Star Wars alive, or maybe in some ways bring it back, him and the Bendy figures, that I think his creation of Mara Jade, right? It's his, right? That was the first, right? Heir of the Empire. Was female representation in a galaxy that did not have a lot, right? And that's just, I'll say, a product of the times, not to absolve George or anyone of those kind of sins, but it's just kind of the way it was done, which is why we like breaking through those kind of barriers, and why it's important to break those barriers. My friend Madeline Rue wanted to write a Star Wars story for the first anthology, and she said, I'd like a female character. And they said, well, someone's already got Leia. And it was like, well, who else is there? Aunt Beru, and that's it in the film. And she ended up writing that story of Brea and Bail. And that was 2014, 2015 range, right? Of they were like, sorry. So I think there's great power to Mara Jade, and I want that acknowledged, and I respect everyone's not just liking Mara Jade, because there's cool stories and stuff that, like you said, you and I aren't familiar, but what she might have meant to people. So that aside, I would.
I think we should clip just these noises out.
Yes.
We,
Can we
we
do
need to
a
get back to having some little story clip outs, and I think maybe make a note of just like, here's our discussion on Mara Jade.
marking the time? Here's the things I like about the character. The Emperor's hand aspect of it, I don't necessarily like that. I think there's been versions of that. The Inquisitors kind of have the Emperor's hand kind of vibe to me, but she could still exist in that realm. But I like what she was, an Imperial agent who is now, as we find her more in the criminal underworld, but then goes in another direction. That's interesting. You could do that with a lot of characters. And because of the big thing that hangs over this, Luke Skywalker's wife, which is, we don't want to boil her down to that. And I think Jared, the Dark Jedi, had said something in here. He's saying some few good things, but yeah, she can easily be boiled down by a lot of folks and a lot of eras too. There it is. Luke's sexy, formerly evil wife. And I agree with Jared on that. But I'll use this catchy headline. The last temptation of Luke, which is not to put her in some kind of this seductress or devilish role, but Luke post the rise of the New Republic, Luke trying to establish himself, Luke trying to keep to the Jedi Order, and asking himself this big question about what is a Jedi in this new era? What can a Jedi do? Things we're interested about with the character of Rey Skywalker going forward. And someone like Mara Jade shows up, a fully formed, functional character on her own, but if they have some sort of connection, and you give me a story, if Claudia Gray was to write that, I'm on board to try to follow that adventure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that there are things that are really interesting to me about her character. And some of them, I think you kind of need to find a way to do almost differently, not from what Mara Jade's story was in Legends, but almost let's not get repetitive in some of the great storytelling that's been in canon. I think Thrawn broke really interesting ground that we're almost seeing in Maul right now of how does somebody who didn't know anything but being the weapon of Sidious, how do they function when they're kicked out or when Sidious is gone and feel kind of empty and just kind of mindlessly following? Some of the Inquisitor stories of a broken Force user, all that kind of thing, and even the beginnings of stories we have with everyone from Riva to Barriss Offee of somebody who has made bad choices going on a journey to make better choices. Somebody using their Force powers to become a bounty hunter like Asajj as they figure out stepping away from the dark side. There are a lot of elements of the compelling Mara Jade story that have been played with, but in some ways her starting point is in a world where the Inquisitors exist and they're sort of Vader's dogs that Palpatine has given to him. I do kind of like the idea of Palpatine is like, and I got a few Emperor's hands too that Vader doesn't know about or touch, because that just seems like Palpatine having a million different plans. So to me, there's room for her there. I think there's a possibility of, if Filoni did try to bring her into the new Republic era, I'm not saying she should become Ezra's wife, but could she have a relationship with Ezra? Because I think Ezra is kind of set up as the Jedi hero of the Thrawn conflict. I don't even mean romance, just somebody who is, hey, I went through this horrible thing with the dark side. How do I process this? Other place I could see is if they someday did an animated show that was the tales of Luke's new Jedi Order, and they had room to develop the character and make her own while staying true to the spirit of the character. And I think there's plenty of room to have like a thoughtful, mature story of what does Luke want? Not the sexy redhead in black leather tries to seduce him, but what if he did become close to someone and thought about, well, what does this mean? Do I want to change these rules and not? And how does Mara Jade feel? And I think there's room to play with some of those essential ideas, but I think you really, really, as everyone in the chat is saying, got to be careful. Gaz says, if the character of Mara Jade was introduced to canon, it would be impossible to keep her story the same. This would result in the Legends fans being upset. Lucasfilm would be in a difficult situation. I entirely agree with that, but I also feel like that's a little bit what makes me feel like Filoni has seemed to say nothing is he respects the Legends, but nothing is off limits. He's brought back in Thrawn and Rook, and I think
Quinlan goes on,
Quinlan goes on, and I think I think that there's a certain matter of like let's embrace the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, very clearly, this is someone who feels the love for the Legends era and stories deep in his heart. right? I mean, that's one of the things I think you should out there love and respect for this guy. We'll see how he pans out as a leader at the top, along with Lin Win. But like, you know, dude loves the Star Wars. He loves all this stuff, and he gets it. He gets it. He gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about what the chat's been bringing up about, does any of this have to do with George Lucas's relationship to the Mara Jade character? So the article references a podcast recorded by our friends at the Resistance broadcast, where they were interviewing J.W. Rinsler, who is close to George and doing lots of book work. And in some of these eras, in J.W. Rinsler shared that George had never particularly been a fan of the character and really disliked the marriage to Luke. He went on in this interview chunk to talk about how George kind of was like, I need to be focused on my stuff. I don't want to micromanage Legends. So sometimes they're going to, or Expanded Universe at that time, sometimes they're going to do things I don't like, but they're selling books and they're making all sorts of money for me to focus on all of the technology and stories that I want to tell. So if I like something in there, I'll pluck it out and make it mine, like the Night Sisters. And if I don't like something like Mara Jade, I'd just be, well, enjoy your books, everybody, but not my bag. Was kind of how J.W. Rinsler, put it. That George didn't hate her enough to micromanage it and get involved and say, get rid of that character.
Yeah.
So how much of those feelings from George do you think still, not just about Mara Jade, but any George feelings, how much do you think those George feelings still affect choices that are now under Dave Filoni's control?
Pure speculation, right? But I'm trying not to self-insert, because I would in fact, I don't need to self-insert. I'm greatly affected by it. If there was comments of George going, man, I love that character, just couldn't figure it out, I'd be like, all right, what was there for me? I have to admit that I'm just like, yeah, no, I didn't like it, and it lines up with George. Hey, all right. So I imagine that could influence Dave a little bit, but I think there's enough stories from Filoni and Gilroy and other Clone Wars writers of those Clone Wars writer rooms in which George was very present at. We're full of discussions. We're full of pushback. There has been those moments, and whether or not I agree with the people or not, I think even Ronald D. Moore has I found myself in a conversation with George during the Underworld writing sessions of disagreeing with this man about something about Star Wars. I disagree with what George feels about Force Awakens. So I think it's possible to exist in this Star Wars world, even if you're creative and disagree with the creator, and not in a people versus George Lucas way. But I could see Dave seeing it as a fun challenge, but also Dave seeing, we'd have to do something different. And is that even worth it? Maybe, and that could be what's going on. If we do, to Gaz's comment, have to change so much, and we get so much pushback, or it's not even the character, now it's Laura Maid. It's another character, someone else.
Yeah. Or maybe they start again and do the new Expanded Universe, Legends 2.0, and tell stories there. Mumbo Jimbo, thank you for the kind super chat. Mumbo Jimbo says, to me, there's something poetic about Filoni telling George that Anakin did not have an apprentice, right, when Lucas was telling him about the Clone Wars setup. And now after George has said he did not like Mara, if Filoni decides maybe Luke did have a wife, a cycle of they are what we grow beyond. Filoni.
A phone call comes into Dave's cell phone. What are you doing, Dave? Guess what? Luke's married now.
Sorry, George. I think that George's strong feelings that Filoni is well aware of. I think pure speculation, but I do think they still affect Filoni's choices a lot, because I think there is just like a ton of respect there. But I also think part of the reason that whole Clone Wars process worked so well, with George coming up with a lot of the what. Here's what I want to happen, and here's what it means. Dave, I trust you. You and your team of writers and animators, you figure out how it's done. I'll tell you the what. You figure out the how. I think a lot of that works so well because I think Dave is really aligned with George about Star Wars, about, how it works, the big picture ideas, the moral guardrails, what it's truly about, all that. I mean, I think, Filoni loves telling the story of getting hired, that he wasn't Rondi Moore. He wasn't one of these sort of Gen X era dudes who are like, I love Star Wars. I love these parts of Star Wars. These other parts are dumb, and you should do you should do the cool badass Star Wars with Boba Fett. But Dave was dressing up as Plo Koon and had theories about Filoni's famous thing is like, I had all these theories that my fans didn't agree with about what the philosophy of the Jedi was. And then George Lucas's interview with me was basically telling me all my theories about the Jedi were true. The man started aligned with Lucas's philosophy. So I think that's part of it.
I mean, dressing up as Plo Koon in downtown Burbank means you are aligned, George.
Yeah.
Gaz Naughty Dam has a very funny comment based off you and I say maybe just make it another character. Mark Jade is an ex-Imperial assassin going to be introduced as the love interest for Rey. Gaz, you just destroyed all of Reddit. All of Reddit collapsed in on itself with hate from all sides on that post, but I love it.
So there's the quotes attributed to George that what he really didn't like about the Mara Jade character ultimately was the idea of Luke getting married, because Jedi don't get married. How do you feel about that? We have many conversations on ForceCenter, and we hear a lot from different listeners who have really strong opinions that, sometimes the Jedi's flaw is being too cold. Sometimes their flaw is needing connection. But Lucas is, really clear on this vision of this is a sacrifice. You put yourself second, and you don't have a partner, partially because, the what if it leads you to manipulation of worrying about them, exactly what happens to Anakin, but also just it is unfair of me to commit myself to one person when my entire life is devoted to this order, and I'm very compassionate toward everyone, and I don't have anything to give to one person. I think is part of Lucas's vision. How do you feel about all that these days?
I like it because it opens up opens up the stories, if you will, to so many good philosophical conversations, some tough conversations, and difference of opinions. I want to separate this out from the real world connection to members of the clergy and everything. I think it's similar where maybe George started, but it's too real, quite frankly, to discuss here. And then that stuff, quite frankly, gets pinned on the Jedi in some way. That's partially what I think. I'll speak for me, but I feel you sometimes push back against stuff. Don't forget, these are characters in Star Wars that represent a lot of things, but they're not necessarily always one-to-one. So put that aside. I like it. It makes sense for what George, who, let's not forget, is a child of the late 60s, into a lot of different philosophies, into a lot of different points of view, and just wanted, it is a sacrifice, like you said. And I think sometimes the attachment thing can get muddled, and it is not about lack of care. It's not about lack of connection. It's just knowing that you are free of, once the situation changes, or once they move on, or once you move on, that you're not beholden to it, that you're not tempted to stay in that state, and that you are selfless. Anakin should have been selfless in his view of Padme. That's, to me, what his fear was. It was selfish fear, was negative attachment. And so I think it's a good starting point. But I also think it'd be fun. That's why I kind of want, if we dive into a new Jedi Order going forward with Rey, what would be her feelings of that? We see this every generation, right? We see this going on with Gen Z and then eventually Gen Alpha. And good luck with that, Gen Z. But it's right for them to look at it. I have this conversation about marriage with some people in my own family who don't understand why that is not my number one goal, especially as I enter into new relationships. Or the assumption when I, said, here's this person I'm dating, and here's their age, and the assumption was, that's weird. You'd find someone who's never been married. I'm like, what? Why would you think that? Our generations and lower have changed the conversation. So Rey, or anyone going forward, Finn included, would change the conversation, and I like that George put it in there.
Yeah, I think I love the conversation about what will Rey's new Jedi Order be like, especially since she was a person who, I think one of the beautiful things about her story was she is an incredibly strong and competent person who can do just fine by herself, but wants connection because it's a natural thing for sentient beings to want. So for her story to be I can stand on my own 2 feet, but connection is valuable. what kind of Jedi need connection? Yes, but what kind, in what shape? What works for everybody? I think for me, the whole like, should Jedi? There's one thing to be like, we date every once in a while. We have hookups, but we don't get married and make a vow and commit ourselves to one person because there's not room for it in our lives. I think that's fascinating for me because I think so much of Star Wars is designed to be life lessons. It's designed to be didactic. I think it is trying to teach us. At the end of the day, Devin shouldn't listen to Maul. It is a lesson. The Clone Wars, every episode of Clone Wars begins with a straight up lesson. There's so much in Star Wars that's a life lesson. I think there are parts of it that are, it's sometimes hard to remember. There are parts of it I don't need to agree with or disagree with as real world advice. It's just a fascinating thing to hold up. You know, when I watch a horror movie, I don't think this entire thing is a life lesson. You watch parts of it and it presents ideas and you think about them and you think about what's good or bad about them and the complexity of being alive and being a human. And for me, this is one of these things of like, I don't have to agree or disagree with it in real life. It's an interesting view of complete commitment. What does complete commitment to something outside of yourself mean? What does compassion mean when it must be compassion for everyone, but not necessarily one single person? It's all fascinating things to think about without, for me, worrying about I need to jump to, there's a buzzer, right or wrong in real life, you know?
I do. Yeah, no, I know. And thank you for saying it so well. A ForceCenter well said of just, I do want to make sure these are stories. These are things that we're supposed to apply to our lives or influence our lives. But it's not always a debate. I don't know. I'm thinking of Grogu and eggs right now, but yes, I press on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing about it is that there's all sorts of ways to look at art and storytelling. And in general, we try to just sort of, for the most part, we accept the canon is canon. And we talk about the evidence of what's on screen, what's in the books, what's in the stories. And a lot of times the real life answer is, well, because George hadn't thought of that yet. And he put it in later. They're like,
yeah,
you know, that's sometimes that's the real world answer, as you say, Ken. I think with the Jedi not marrying, I think there's also just like a very real world. Hey, everybody, go watch Empire of Dreams. Lucas gave everything to make the original trilogy, and he ended with 3 movies and a divorce. And this is, if you read, bios of artists, especially really strong, purposeful, I want to do my vision. People like George Lucas, relationships are hard. I love David Lynch with all my heart, and he talks a lot about it. The art comes first, and that sometimes didn't leave room for other people. And I think it's fascinating to think about Lucas really attaching to this idea of like, no, the Jedi they're committed to their mission, filmmaking. I mean, bringing peace and order to the galaxy. And there's not room for marriage. It's like how much of his real life experience affected that interesting philosophy.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So Ken, extremely important personal question. Would you rather be married or be a Jedi?
What's the third option?
You get to make it up. Agency. Choose it yourself.
Based on that, I would be a Jedi, but I got to be honest, I don't like camping. I don't like hard living. I look at the Master Iko Diodaki and what he's trying to pull off. That's why I think Maul's making some points. He has hotel points and he's not even using them, Devin. It could be there. But I don't think I'd be good with a lightsaber. I would hurt myself. I'm not running away from marriage. I enjoy long-term committed relationships. But based on those, Jedi or rogue scoundrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, I'm married and I'm not giving it up. So I'd settle for just a lightsaber. I don't need the Force. I can just be a married guy with a lightsaber. Married with a lightsaber. That's all I need, man.
Yes.
Will Dixon shares some good thoughts, and I'm gonna let people on watching on YouTube read because I do not know how to pronounce some of these things. I imagine George looked at this specific kind of Buddhism and this other specific kind of Buddhism, same ideology, but one is more of a monastic order and the other is lay practitioners. Yeah, I mean, I thank you, Will, for saying that, because I think any discussion of this is like, yes, absolutely. Lucas is clearly influenced by different forms of belief across the world, and I just get interested in the personal side of that as well as the larger pulling from the real world and real practices.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you, Will.
Yeah. Got this nice super chat from Jared. We'll throw in here. With today's new Jedi Order, I'm interested in what tenets of the old Jedi shall honor and what tenets she'll allow to evolve, whether or not she ever marries. Can't see her being so rigid that no Jedi can get married. Ooh. Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting to see if she tried to establish maybe a little bit more that sort of wandering Jedi. I come and teach you, here are the principles, you go do your thing. Yeah,
I mean, large conversation, but yeah, Rey, someone felt on the outside, no connection, no family, no place, all those things that we've seen her deal with, and that would weigh heavy on her. And Finn, inspired by connection, a number before he gets his identity, and then connects with people, and then connects with larger groups, and then connects with causes. Like he becomes a Jedi at any level with her. I'm sure he'd had some thoughts too. I don't know if it ends up any differently, but they might have a conversation about how to approach it differently.
One more super chat on this topic, then we'll move along. Joel Davis says, the issue I see is a lot of writers view the Jedi, I think, more from a Western Christian perspective than an Eastern one. I think, yes, there is a lot of that, I think, in various Star Wars storytelling, and certainly in Star Wars discussion. And I think for me, that's, again, one of those reasons that I choose to look at some of it is these are interesting ways to think about how we move through life. And I don't necessarily have to be like, yep. There are parts of Star Wars that I say, yes, I agree with this strongly and is good advice for the real world, and other things that are fascinating to contemplate.
Yeah, I agree with that, Joel. I agree with that. I think that was what I was trying to say earlier. And also it's why I get uncomfortable with the one-to-one Jedi are just religious fanatic space cops. I get where that comes from. And I think like a series like Acolyte raises those important questions that you and I and Jen even talked about. And I directly kind of related it to some of my experience with law enforcement people. But I do fight against those, even in our friends group. Just if we were like, see, I told you they were just cops. Like I wasn't. No, sorry.
Yeah, I continue to love seeing the Jedi from the perspective of people who have made a vow and a commitment to be of selfless service to others, and to strive to be the best version of themselves. And they make mistakes along the way, because it's not easy to be the best version of yourself as an individual, and certainly not as an institution. And I think that for me is always the most interesting way and most empathetic way to frame them in my own mind. My justice for the Jedi spiel for the day. Moving along, the guests on this panel also mentioned that the Old Republic, and specifically characters from the video game The Knights of the Old Republic, were also still off limits. This one is a little less of a mystery, as there are Old Republic video games in active development right now, and multiple movie pitches over the years, like the Benioff and Weiss trilogy. And I know this is not the same technical era of the Old Republic, but James Mangold working on a Dawn of the Jedi film that would perhaps establish things about technology timeline that might affect future Old Republic storytelling. Again, I want to be really clear. I understand that is not technically the Old Republic era, but I think something like Dawn of the Jedi could impact other storytelling within that era. So Ken, we'll have a short conversation on the Old Republic, but what do you want out of Old Republic storytelling, and what are your hopes for it outside of the video games that are coming?
I think it is fertile ground that I'm not familiar with. I love some of the things I see in it. Don't get all of it. Don't love some of it, or maybe more accurately, don't love some of the reactions or attachments to it that others have. But that's not people that love it. Like my buddy, friend of the show, Kevin Smets loves Old Republic. That's his Star Wars entry point in a lot of ways, and he does little short films about it. Like I love that, respect that, and Kevin is great. So it's not a slight against it, but I just also would like to. It's fertile ground that I would like to finally see there. But to me, it is a trilogy of movies. Yep, to me, it is a 8-season, 10-episode show.
Mm-hmm.
That for years was the Star Wars to TV. Or are we getting like a Star Wars Game of Thrones show? And that was quite. I'm sure even I asked it too back in the day. But like that would be the only time, like that whatever that vibe that Game of Thrones did, which is a giant world with intrigue and politics and real world things set against a fantasy backdrop that makes it easier to pull people in. That's what it was, right? And I think you could do it with Old Republic.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I want is if somebody wants to adapt the video games, if they want to deal with Revan, which I think is some people have pointed out in the chat, it is a similar can of worms to Mara Jade of do you risk thrilling or pissing off the people who love Darth Revan. So I'm less interested in any sort of adaptation of the video game. I would love, whether it's in publishing, an animated series, a one-off live action series, a one-off movie, for Lucasfilm to define the era and make it as specific and different as they so successfully did with the High Republic. They did a great job with the High Republic of like, here's where the Jedi are at. They wear these different robes because of where the Order is at. They have these different roles, like a Wayseeker, because of where they are at in their journey. Hyperspace lanes are being explored. So there's this pioneering element that adds this different flavor to it and creates these different kinds of characters and stakes. If you love the individual High Republic stories, like the main book line, fantastic. But even if you don't, like even with the Acolyte, they created a new playground, which is very Star Wars, but has its own thing. And I would love, love, love for Lucasfilm to just establish Old Republic as a time period of what were the Jedi like during this time? What were conflicts like? What was the Sith like during this time? What was space travel like during this time? And how does it change the dynamics and the kinds of characters that you might run into? I think I want the playground of it more than anything.
Really agree with you. And what you said up top of like, you wouldn't want just a straight adaptation of the game or even an attempt to do that. I just don't think you could. And Joel brings up a point in chat. I think risking pissing off fans shouldn't factor into bringing them back or not. It does it in the halls of Lucasfilm. I can assure you it does. J.J. Abrams did not read Reddit and pull things in, and I'm not saying Joel's saying that. And you're absolutely right, Joel. I think they would do it if they had the story, and I think what you're talking about, Joseph, is a way to approach it. It's a playground. What a fun one to play in.
Yeah, in terms about the I really understand where people are coming from. Finding this thing that I starred. From our pal Chris Ryan's a little way back, who said, just like with Revan, for a lot of fans, nothing would work for them with how Mara would be brought into canon. I think it's less of a headache to just keep her out of canon than bring her in. Chris follows up, maybe I'm just old and in my phase. I understand. I think we're all sort of a little bit walking wounded when it comes to angry discourse. I think from what I have, my opinion, watching characters be brought in, the biggest one being Thrawn, and hearing Filoni talk about it, I think Filoni is doing a good thing where I think he is he cares about people who respond to the characters with love, but I don't think he's going to let himself be stopped by hate. So want to do right by people who love Thrawn, but I'm not going to stop myself from playing and experimenting because of my fear of their hate.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And Renzo says, I agree with Chris. So anyway, good conversations about our complicated feelings about all of the Mara Jade, the Old Republic, and adaptations and Jedi weddings.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I because this is relevant to what we were talking about earlier. Jared Coz also said Leia was raised Jedi Master. She, of course, married, even though she walked away, and we had the Han and Leia troubles. But she also loved Han and their son Ben, and became very important to her. That may influence the being raised perspective on Jedi relationships. Absolutely, which is why we want more with those characters. So.
Yeah, I think Leia's perspective that they lost Ben when they sent him away might also color Rey's opinions about hey,
Right.
we maybe not marriage, but we need connection, we need community, we need family.
Yep. Yep.
All right, moving on to Mandalorian and Grogu. There have been some ticket sales rumors, and I will highlight, circle, draw arrows at rumors. Take this with a giant grain of salt, as the sources appear to just be a string of some people on social media. So this week, Jon Favreau has a presentation at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. This is a convention put on by an organization called Cinema United. This is what Cinema United says about who they are on their website. The largest exhibition trade organization in the world, representing nearly 31,000 movie screens in 80 countries worldwide. Our membership includes the largest cinema chains in the world, as well as hundreds of independent theater owners. So this is a convention for people who are going to be putting on the movies. Anyway, the rumor is that right after CinemaCon, a new trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu will drop, and tickets will go on sale probably around this Friday, April 17th. And also, put a pin in this, we will talk about it. Popcorn buckets will be announced. So, Ken, how much stock do you put in these rumors? It's not wild that, yes, they have to announce the ticket sales relatively soon, and this is a logical time to do it. So how much stock do you put in these rumors? And do you think Disney and Lucasfilm will give the general public a couple days notice before the tickets go live?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so. And shout out to our buddy Mark Ellis, who is at CinemaCon right now, where he is day drinking in Vegas. And I've always attended CinemaCon adjacent. There was always a wrestling convention every year. My friends were at CinemaCon, and a lot of drinking friends, a lot of drinking. First of all, I saw this come up. It was a scroll thing where you just kind of see it and you go, I don't know. And the one projection I saw was like 70 million opening weekend or something like that. And that doesn't sound great if you want it to not sound great. I still think the conversation of what's actually happening in the industry right now is it's mentioned, I think, a lot. And I think you and I, in our limited experiences with talking about the business side of things in terms of this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not an arena we played in a lot. Like, I think there's some good conversations, but I just don't hear people, the professionals, talking about the actual state of the world and our economy and who's going to. It's not just simply that Ted Sarandos doesn't want to put things in theaters. That has a lot to do with it, but you know what I mean. Like that 70 million that weekend sounds great to me right now. But I'm also not in the halls up there. I don't have a shareholder value point of view on this there.
I think there was a story, but it was just like, it was a lot. It was one person, one outlet. Okay. One outlet. This is their preview, and there hadn't been more. And I really feel strongly in this era that the opening weekend there's some numbers that's like, well, obviously that's not great, or obviously that's quite good. And then there's all these numbers in between. It's just about the spin. Is 70 million impressive right now, or is it a tragedy? That is all spin and perspective and manipulation. And do people walk away with a glowy feeling of it did well, or do they, 1 million is bad, 200 million is great, but lots of stuff in between is spin. In terms of the ticket sales, unless I missed something, it is not confirmed. But I do think Lucasfilm will not surprise the general public or the all-in fans that they really need. I think they want good ticket sales. Mm-hmm. They want to set the conversation, if possible, with opening weekend expectations. A lot of times studios will say, here's our expectation, and keep it a little bit lower so they can come out and go, yep, this is what we intended, and we did it. But I think it's a very good chance that tickets will indeed go on sale later this week. And I hope that we get interrupted from this live broadcast with confirmation from Lucasfilm that tickets will go on sale. So it's getting close, and we're talking about buying tickets, which means making decisions about the how and the when, all that. Ken, as both a fan and a Star Wars talking person, how do you want to experience Mandalorian and Grogu for the first time?
I'm going to be open, honest, and raw, Joseph. And maybe it's because I'm turning old on Saturday. I am campaigning hard to get back onto invite list. I want press screenings. I want the premiere. I just want it because it's fun for me. It's hype. It's a experience. Press screenings are often boring and full of very stuffy people, but I'm just hyped for it, man. I want to feel that again. I want a little bit of 2017 energy again. I'm excited for this film. But if that doesn't happen, and it's most likely won't happen because we're in a different movie media era. I'm not necessarily a first screening midnight or 10 a.m. But I'll find it that night. I'll find it that weekend, and I might do. I'll swipe a credit card and do what I did in 2015, just buy blocks of tickets and see who wants to show up.
Yeah, I think for me, like, hey, premiere sounds great. I've never been to a premiere. I'd love to go to a premiere sometime. Press screenings are really it depends, like the where, the when, because I want the emotion, I want the hype. I want to be in a packed theater on Thursday night. I am very lucky that one of the theaters I can walk to is the Grauman's Chinese Theater, now Man Chinese Theater. That I would love. Man, I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on Thursday night with a packed audience. It felt like half of the audience was dressed as an Indiana Jones character, and people were so into that film. And it gave me such a wonderful way to experience it with people who care and are all in, and not people who have their arms crossed angrily waiting to figure out what's wrong with it so I can get a lot of clicks by posting real quick why it's bad. I want to be in a packed theater with people who are excited. Press screenings, I think they can be hit or miss with whether there's like enthusiasm and energy and excitement for the thing. But I want to be with a responsive crowd enjoying it. That's my most important thing.
Yeah, it's fun. Star Wars is the only thing, or Indy too. Star Wars is the only thing that pulls me out for that kind of experience on opening week. Normally, could I go on a Tuesday at 10 where there's no one in here? My anxieties calm down, but Star Wars is the last one of the ones that I'm with you. I want to sit right there and feel the energy. Feel it.
I want to feel that energy. So there's also this rumor about a trailer. What more do you want to see from a trailer?
No, yeah.
Because I think we're getting, in my opinion, we're getting it's always the art in the product, the show in the business. I don't think the art needs any more selling, but the business side of it might need more hype. So do you think there's going to be a trailer, and what do you want from it?
I don't know if there's going to be a full trailer. To me, it might be clips and word of mouth. I don't know, but it seems like they might need it just in the sense of how fast the world moves. I'm with you on. I don't need it in terms of just as a fan. I don't need it for the art, but I do think I need it for the general population. I'm not going to start a fight with those of the audience who hated what they did at the Super Bowl, but I remind you that the Super Bowl seems like 2 years ago. A spot there would have been useless. Like the fact that they released one a week or two later, like it's all the same day in our brains, like goddamn World War III started since then. Do we care about, do you even remember who played in the Super Bowl? Like I'm a football fan. I'm like, wait, what year was this one? Like we need something now. We're an immediate society. So I'm with you on I'd prefer not, but it makes sense. And I definitely think we're gonna get little clips and things. What I would want out of it, which I think you asked as well, right? I don't want story reveals. I know, but there's something really mysterious that I both love and hate that we don't know anything about this movie's cast. And I'm not expecting big names at this point. Maybe surprise names. I'm not expecting character cameos or anything, but like we know there's not just like 3 actors in this film. It's not like I'm wondering if there's anything more that as we are a week or 2 or 3 weeks out that you go, oh bleep, so and so, I'm in. If you're a general fan, I'm not talking about a big name, but you know what I mean. Like it could be something more than Johnny Fab's going, oh, you're gonna love this character's name, and then he reveals the name, and everyone's like, what are you talking about, John?
Yeah, no, I think the trailer will end with Anya Taylor-Joy as Mara Jade, and that just there's another $70 million right there. I say jokingly.
That's great.
Differing opinions here in the chat, which is totally understandable. But I'm kind of with General Cameroni. I feel like we know plenty. Bad guys, good guys hunting bad guys, evil slugs, cute baby. We good.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
We had our trailer breakdown, which the way for some reason that sounded like an emotional breakdown. Remember when we had our trailer breakdown? Yeah, no, but I feel like
slugs.
I feel like it. Yeah. I feel like for myself, it is. Yeah, I don't want to know every little detail, and I feel like there's some sequences like I've seen most of that actually.
Yeah.
But I think they've done a really good job of they have reminded us that Grogu is fascinating and adorable. They've reminded us of the deep father-son family connection between them, the fear of loss. They've reminded us that it's big, high-scale action in IMAX. They've hinted at the emotional stakes about this isn't about revenge, all that. If anything in this trailer, I would want it to be about the emotion. I continue to really want Grogu to be faced to, in order to grow up, you have to face your trauma. You have to face the dark times that you went through. So if there's a little bit more hint of that, I'd be happy. But I feel like they've sold the action. They've sold the scale to me. They've sold the cute. Lean into the emotional. Lean into the sad dad energy. Lean into the it's Star Wars with a hint of cats in the cradle. They're not going to be together forever. That was a part of the previous trailer, and people really liked it. But man, that's really the only thing I want is remind people how much they're going to feel by going to this movie, and let's get past the debates about like it's just a TV show. Just reminding people of the emotion.
Yeah, this big sweeping emotion. I'm definitely interested. I mean, Favreau being there definitely makes me think that something's coming. And in the past, there's been reveals there that don't necessarily go to the public. I remember a day drunk Mark Ellis raving about the opening to F1 from last year's CinemaCon, and the world didn't see that, so it doesn't necessarily guarantee that we'll see something, but it definitely makes sense. I'm excited to get the word out, or to get the word from it if it does happen.
Agreed. And Joel Davis says, I think we need a reason to see this in the theater, not just wait for Disney Plus in a month. I think that is the ongoing challenge of almost all films that the large companies have done to themselves by shortening the window of leaving a film in the theater. And that leads us to our last real topic for the day, and perhaps the most important, popcorn buckets. It's fun to joke about the popcorn buckets, and they are funny, but to me, they're utterly fascinating. In a couple of years, there's going to be books and college courses and theses written about the popcorn buckets and their role in reconnecting people to the community of being in a theater after all of the traumas that we have been through. I think the popcorn buckets are very funny, but to me, they're this beautiful evidence that people still want an in-person theatrical experience, but they need a reason for it. Like Joel is saying, they need the movies to be special. They need it to be an event. And I think the popcorn buckets are like this icon, this physical object that we just laugh about them and funny, but like I went to the theater and I got this bizarre thing and it made it an event, and now I joke to people about it online, and I sold my Dune bucket on eBay for $40 or whatever they might be going for. I think the popcorn buckets are secretly very, very important to what's going on in our culture. So Ken, how do you feel about the popcorn buckets, and what for you makes a trip to see a film in a theater with community, with all those risks? What makes it feel special and worthwhile to you?
It's something big like Star Wars. It's something big like Indiana Jones. Things that I love. Things that that's not just a nostalgia bump or a nostalgia dopamine hit. It's like we all love this, and I like being in a shared spot. You know, that's why I love Star Wars Celebration over any other convention, because it's all shared. It's a unified interest that we're there for, and I'm sure that works for Monster Palooza, Horror Side, or anything like that, where you're like around everyone and you're united. So I think that's what brings me out. I don't own the popcorn buckets. I've wanted to. I don't think it was one of the official ones, but the Phantom Menace, I have an actual bucket up there. It's a Phantom Menace bucket. I don't know what to do with it. Anyone want it? I got it. But there was the Jabba one, and I was like, I mean, yeah, if I had unlimited funds, I'd buy 2 of those right now. They speak to the collector and all of us. They speak to the experience. Even though I don't have an overriding interest in them, you're right. They have the vibe and the way they kind of been talked about on social media or in clips. I think the one our old buddy Maude Garrett with Rebecca Ferguson showing her the Dune popcorn bucket and like it became a thing. Not quite Cabbage Patch Kids in '85 or Beanie Babies, but it's a thing, and that generates money certainly, and they're very expensive and they're very big, and I don't have the loan needed to get some of them that I've seen in the past. But I think you're right. I'm behind you on that it wasn't just consumerism. There's obviously a large part of that. That's the world we live in. I get it. I get it. But yeah, anyone that I've seen buy one, I remember. Where was I? God, where was I? It was one of the last movies I saw in the theater, and the people in front of me were buying the bucket. Oh, me and Matt Key went to see Fantastic Four, and people in front of us were buying whatever the 5-foot tall bucket they were selling, and it was like an event. They were smiling, and the staff it was a thing, man. Was it the Galactus bucket?
The Galactus bucket was worth every cent. Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And we will get to our predictions because there's a lot of great thoughts in the chat. But I mean, I feel like some of the things that make me want to go to the theater is, what's the space like? Again, very, very lucky where I live to have, some old movie palaces to go to. But there's even like some spaces like this isn't a great room. The angle on the theater isn't good, but the energy of this place it is a temple to cinema. What is the energy of this space, right? Like literally, it's one of the greatest things I miss about the ArcLight in Hollywood, which was the building attached to the classic Cinerama Dome. It was set up so there was just like a beautiful energy that like the lobby was like this cauldron of energy, and you could feel it even when it wasn't full of people who were there to celebrate it. So the energy in the space, the energy in the crowd is something special. And I think at this point we do need things like a popcorn bucket or a special intro from somebody or a Q&A afterwards of that to make it like an event. We're not just going here to quickly see a story and go thumbs up, thumbs down. We are going here to have a communal experience with other human beings, and anything that can make you feel that is just so valuable right now.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the popcorn unveiling, the popcorn bucket unveiling. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I'd be like, what did they cook up for this? If there is one, right? If there is one, do they do them for every big film? I am a little lost on the bucket culture.
I don't think there's. I mean, our beloved Star Wars, we always joke, is not a nonprofit started by George Lucas in 1975. Merch has long been a part of Star Wars. The thought that they would look past it on this one in this moment. Carmen says, I've budgeted up to $50 for a Grogu popcorn bucket.
You might have to get more.
Will says, Hut bucket. Amaranth says, Buff Hut butt bucket. And then says, no, I think it's still going to be the Hot Rod Pram. Yep. Alan Smithy says there should be a Sarlacc pit themed popcorn bucket. Lots of great bucket thoughts. Camatono bucket. Makes sense. Oh yeah, the Razor Crest comment was very good.
David says we all buy our Razor Crest 2 popcorn bucket, then our seated in theaters, the Razor Crest 2 explodes.
And all filmed as our faces fall and the bucket slowly falls out of our hands and popcorn tumbles on the floor. Sad music plays.
Molly David Joint wants just Pedro's face.
I can never nail it though. It's too beautiful. It can't be captured.
His mouth opens up.
All right, Ken.
Yes,
I'm going to put this out here. I think how do they look at this? Maybe there'll be multiple buckets. Maybe there'll be a Din's helmet. But how do they not make one that isn't just Grogu? Now, we've long had disturbing mugs and whatnot where you drink out of a character's open head. Just like, I'm enjoying my morning cup of Luke Skywalker's liquid brains. Great. It's weird, but it's long been a thing, right? But here's my pitch. I think you buy Grogu and it looks like a large plastic doll, and you're like, how does this even work? But he's got the big Mandalorian metal piece of armor, the big circular armor, and you open that up and you reach inside to Grogu's actual stomach and you steal the popcorn that he ate so fast he just swallowed it whole. he didn't digest it, and you have to eat your popcorn out of Grogu's belly before he has a chance to digest it for the family.
Is there a little, this is priced to go at $185 a bucket. Is there like a battery operated thing at the bottom where if you don't eat it in time, it chops up the popcorn as if Grogu's digested it?
Yes.
Is that where you go?
Yes, or his little animated arms that try to steal the popcorn from inside himself before you can eat it.
See, that's where I kind of was going. Like a lot of folks had said the pram idea. Chris said Grogu's pram as well.
Solid.
So you have the pram, but you construct it in a way where Grogu is in it, and then in front of him is where all the popcorn goes, and then he has little hands that are like trying to reach it. Imagine
that. Just what that would do to a screening of like we've worked on every sound cue, and it's just like like this is why we go to the cinema.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman cries as a bunch of Grogu's eat their popcorn.
Animated arms feel good in a place like this.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, and here we got this one from Jared. Saving my money for the secret Jar Jar Binks popcorn bucket that they will obviously release after opening weekend when he makes his long anticipated return in this movie. Still manifesting. I'm still on Team Jar Jar myself.
Same.
Yep. So, Ken, that is our big look at the news. We did have this one super chat early in the show, and I want to be sure to acknowledge from Scott McRae. Thank you very much. Who says the Maul Shadow Lord review of episodes 1 and 2 was fantastic. Thank you very much. It was a ton of fun to really get back to our deep dive roots and talk about the episodes in depth. And I look forward to doing that again tomorrow.
Indeed, and some other super chats. I think Sarn God. It's multi Ken day. Just finished my cellar shot. Thank you for watching me multiple times in one day. That must be very difficult. Joel Davis. I think Mara will return 5-10 years, but on screen and not in book. I don't think George not liking her won't factor, nor should it. I agree with that. And I think that might be. Sorry if we missed any.
Yeah, thank you very much for the super chats. They're very very appreciated right now.
Oh yeah, they are. Fun discussion. Thank you all.
Lots of fun stuff in the news. And of course, I think there'll be a lot more if the tickets do indeed go on sale. And hey, maybe next week's episode will be entirely popcorn bucket analysis if they announce it.
We have to now. We've established that as something we need to do. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're watching live on YouTube now, hey, do us a little favor. You've left comments, like, hype, subscribe if you haven't already. That stuff really does matter. We can be found on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Podcast is available in a lot of spots, including Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Just search, you'll find us. Sundays, we re-release Databank Brawl, our long-running series from like 2016 to 2020, in which Joseph, I, and other guests make up Star Wars fights with characters that Joseph legitimately surprised us with. We never knew what was coming. It's always good. So it's on the audio feed only. TeePublic at Fourth Walls where we get our merch. And as we said up top, if you want to support us, help reach our goal of 400 paid supporters before the release of Mandalorian Grogu, find us at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can also find me on YouTube, my show, The Blathering Live, lining up some cool guests to interview, long-form interviews with some folks I'm excited to announce soon. And check me every week with Culture, Faith, and Politics with Pat Conkey, a live show I produce every Tuesday night talking about culture, faith, and politics. Joseph, your YouTube channel is back and running with some great short films. And link down below, by the way, on that too, folks.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Yeah. Please visit me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel and check out. I just, in the last month or so, put out 3 different short films. I got another one coming in the next couple weeks, and then another one coming in about maybe a month later is the one that I wrote this weekend. So I got a little bit of filming and editing to do. Also is the horror film that I made with the help of many, many talented folks is beginning to make its way out into the world here in there. Much more news coming on that. That horror film is called Dead Media. I know a couple of folks on ForceCenter have had a chance to see it at a couple different film festivals. So if you have seen it and you have a Letterboxd account, I would love a review on Letterboxd from ForceCenter friends. So if you have had a chance to check it out, go visit us on Letterboxd.
There you go. All right, that is it. So for all the popcorn buckets in the world, we'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.